All right, so what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and the overwhelming support seems to be more of this, which I highly agree. Love this car, but today is gonna be a little bit of a more different video. We're not driving the car, we're not really doing any work on it. I'm just kind of gonna stand here, maybe move around and talk. So in this video, as you've seen by the title, I want to talk about really the ownership of this, the 211 55 AMG models. So if you're really interested in this car, this is going to be the type of video for you. If you're interested in buying one, I'm going to try to talk about as many things as I can, or as many things that have happened to me or that I know of, like common issues with these cars that you guys should look out for. So while I do praise this car a lot, and I say that, you know, this is one of the best AMGs you can buy, and it is, that doesn't mean that they're failure prone. Every car has, you know, issues, and especially now with this being a 2004, it's what now, 17, 18 years old. So it's gonna have issues, which is to be expected from, you know, an almost 20-year-old car. So, and that's just another kind of disclaimer I want to throw out there for anybody. If you think you're gonna buy one of these and it's gonna be perfect, it's not. Because if you want that, just go to the dealership and buy a brand new E63 with a warranty, because then if something goes wrong, it's all free, right? Or whatever. This, you know, at the newest level is 2006, so 16 years old. That's still, you know, a old car by today's standards. So if you're expecting to buy this and drive it into the rainbow with no problems or anything at all, I'm gonna break it to you, that's not gonna happen. There's gonna be issues, and it's not because, oh, the car's terrible. It's because it's a 16-year-old or maybe potentially even older, like this one, 18 years old car. So, and you never know how people have driven. I'm the 7th owner of this car, and I'm just going to be honest with you, this was not taken care of as it should have, but that's for another video. So let's go ahead and hop into this in no particular order list that I've compiled on my phone to try to kind of describe to you guys what you should look out for when shopping for one of these. So the first major issue that you guys should look out for, and that's the Achilles heel to these cars, is the Airmatic. So the air suspension that Mercedes so graciously put on all of these 211 cars. Now, I'm gonna throw a quick disclaimer out there. This is not an ABC suspension. If you've heard the horror stories of $5,000, $10,000 repairs on ABC systems, the 211 AMG cars do not have an ABC system. They have what is known as Airmatic. ABC was used on the S-Class, the CL, the SL, models like that. So if you're looking for one of those, this is not the video for you, because I don't deal with ABC suspensions, and I don't really know what to tell you. All I know is that they're expensive to fix, but when they work, they're great. So we're getting off track, but the Airmatic suspension in this car is a lot, how do I say, a lot more wallet forgiving than the ABC is. Now, will it break your bank if you buy everything from the dealer and get work done at the dealer? Absolutely. I mean, let's say by some grace or miracle of God, all 4 of your shocks go out, your air compressor goes out, and you go to the dealer and you're like, don't worry about it, here's a blank check, fix it. You're probably gonna walk out of there with like $10,000 bill. But so that's not gonna happen. All 4 shocks are not gonna blow at the same time, but the front shocks are more expensive. So as I've looked online, it depends on the brand. Arnott is genuinely the best brand you can buy because they're remanufactured shocks. You can go to the dealer and buy them, but they're obviously more expensive. For these cars, I've seen Arnott shocks anywhere from 700, 800 higher. It just depends on where you get them. FCP Euro, not a sponsor video or anything, tends to be probably the best site to get parts for your German aging AMGs or whatever you're driving, because they have lifetime warranty and their prices tend to be pretty competitive. So front shocks probably will run you north of $500, just depending. The rear ones, they're cheaper because they're smaller. I actually need to replace my rear shocks. The driver's side one, every morning that, you know, when I get up and I go to the car, the rear end is sagging on the ground. So as soon as I unlock it, it goes straight up. Right away, it takes like 5 seconds, but that is an indication that the rear shock is leaking, and we'll be getting around to replacing it. So that's gonna run me, I found some stuff online, there's some stuff on eBay, and again, I would not recommend buying cheap Chinese or, you know, BS shocks, because you're gonna put them on, and after about a couple months you're probably gonna replace them again. So you're just throwing money down the drain and your labor time. So probably gonna cost me around $400 a side. It is, you know, good-hearted to replace both when you're doing. It's not advised to replace just one side. I mean, I'm probably will test that theory just because it'd be cool for YouTube videos, but I will probably just replace this side and see what happens with the other side. I guarantee the other side's gonna start going out too, because, you know, that's usually how things work with aging AMG cars. But regardless, so if you're looking for these, that's the Achilles heel to the 55 211 chassis. So air suspension. It's called Airmatic. Front shocks are pretty expensive, rear shocks are expensive, and the compressor, which sits right here inside the bumper, that also can be expensive, just depending on where you buy it from. Original Mercedes probably the most expensive. You can find Chinese cheap parts. Don't recommend buying that stuff if you're looking to keep doing jobs over and over. So that's going to be it for the first thing on this list. So for the second thing on this list, it's the SBC system. And now this one's a little weird, and I say it's weird is because Mercedes will replace this for free. You don't have to pay any money. If your pump goes out, the SBC pump, which is for the brakes, you just take it to Mercedes, they'll replace it for free, no charge. Now, I believe there was an issue, or there was something where it was issued to where it's up to 25 years age of the car. So if your car is under 25 years and your pump goes bad, take it to Mercedes, they'll replace it for free, no charge, anything. They'll flush your system out and put new oil in it. So that's great. You know, good on Mercedes for owning up to their mistake, which was a massive mistake, considering that you could just be doing, you know, with these cars 130, 140 miles an hour on the highway, and all of a sudden you push the brake pedal and it goes straight to the floor and you don't have any brakes, which is not a good day. You know, I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but I haven't, but I'm assuming it's a horrible time seeing your speedometer at 130 miles an hour and you can't stop. So yeah, Mercedes definitely owned up to it. I believe they got sued over it, so that forced them to kind of issue this recall in the bulletin to where they'll replace it for free. So that's why I'm not really trying to go over as much on it, because it's not a cost really. If you have the issue now, if you're watching this video in 5 years from now or 6 years and your car's over 25 years old, sorry. It's kind of your own fault at that point. But yeah, they'll cover the pump free of charge, they'll replace it. Otherwise, the pump is about, I think, $1,000 if you, or actually maybe more. I don't know, because mine was replaced for free, so I didn't look into it. But yeah, that's going to be for the second thing on this list. So the third thing on this list, and this is one that I have a personal friendly history with because it left me stranded at high school, is this car uses the 722.6 5-speed automatic transmission, which was used in literally every Mercedes product from the early 2000s. S-Class, CL, SL, E-Class, C-Class, everything uses this transmission. It's called the conductor plate, and I'll throw in a picture right here of what it is. And I also have a video, which I'll put the link up here if you guys want to check that video out. I did a whole video on replacing it on my car, so you guys can see how to do it. The conductor plate sits on top of the valve body, which is inside the transmission, and it basically it communicates with the ECU, or not the ECU, the TCM, telling it, you know, when to shift, current speed. The shift solenoids also sit on the conductor plate, and common symptoms of a failing, or it's already failed valve body, or not valve body, the conductor plate, excuse me, is erratic shifting. In my case, the car would have a hard time shifting from 1 to 2. Sometimes it wouldn't even shift, and then it would lock you out of gear. So basically, the shifter would be in drive, but you're in neutral because it would just freely rev. And me and my brother had a very, very fun time trying to get this car home on the highway when it was doing that, because every about, 5 minutes or so, we'd be driving and it would just start revving. So we'd have to pull over, shut it off, wait 10 minutes, restart it, and then we have another 5 minutes, allow time to drive. So good thing with the 722.6, unlike the facelifted 211 chassis cars, which use the 722.9, on that car, when that happens, you can't just replace the conductor plate. You got to replace the whole valve body and system, which I think only Mercedes can do at like $3,000. So good job, Mercedes, for going back on your design, but whatever. So conductor plate, in terms of this car, FCP Euro offers them. You can buy them for about $250. They have cheaper ones. The $250 one, in my opinion, is the best bang for your buck. It comes with the conductor plate, the seal for the oil pan. It comes with the side plug, which is another common issue on these cars. On the side of the transmission is where the wiring harness for the conductor plate plugs in, and those tend to leak. They have little rubber seals. They tend to leak individually. They're about 15 bucks on Amazon, maybe a little bit more for original ones. I'm not 100% sure because mine came with the kit. So 15 bucks for that. They'll tend to leak. Also, you'll start seeing issues with shifting, with the shifter specifically, because oil gets in the wiring harness, so you have to clean all that out. So if you notice a little transmission leak, please change it before it starts, you know. I've actually seen oil, I've had issues in my dad's old shop where a customer brought it in, the car just wouldn't shift at all, and oil had actually crept up the wiring harness into the shifter itself, and when we took the shifter apart, it was full of oil. So if you notice a little leak or something, please replace it. Or just in, you know, it's a good maintenance thing. If you do a transmission service, go ahead and replace it. It's only 15 bucks. It's not going to break the bank. So back to the conductor plate. The kit comes with, as I said, the oil pan gasket, the little plug. It comes with oil and the conductor plate itself. So fantastic price, $250. It's an original, you know, OEM part. Can't beat it. Now, if you're like me, I have this weird thing with oil that I put in this car. So I didn't buy that kit. I paid the $194 or whatever it is just for the conductor plate and the gasket and all that, because I didn't want the oil that they provided. The kit comes with liquid moly transmission fluid, which I have personally never used it. I'm sure it's good, but I've seen a lot of things in, like I said, in my dad's shop where, in particular on BMWs, if you don't use the OEM fluid, the transmission tends to be, you know, problematic. I don't know. You guys are probably gonna be like, oh, I've used basic AutoZone fluid and it's worked. That's great, but I'm weird about it. So I just bought the conductor plate with the ring, with the little, you know, as I said, the little plug on the side and the gasket, and then I bought my oil at Mercedes. So I got charged about 30 bucks a liter, and I think it takes about 7 or 8 quarts of oil, so that's great. Oh, and one more thing before we move on from the transmission. There's no dipstick on this car. So unlike the facelifted cars, this one actually has a dipstick hole, but when you try to pull what looks like a dipstick top, there is no dipstick. You have to buy it from Amazon for like 20 bucks, and it's this long service dipstick thing. So I'll throw in a picture of what it looks like here. Or if you guys, you know, really want to be nice to me, go and check out this video about how I did all this work in my garage on jack stand. So yeah, that's great. And that's another common issue. So another, I guess, what are we on, 3 or 4 on this list? Here's the glorious and, in my opinion, the greatest engine Mercedes ever produced, or AMG produced, M113K, 5.4 liter supercharged V8. This is the Hellcat of the 2000s. Now we have 700 horsepower Dodge Chargers Hellcats. Well, this was the Hellcat of the early 2000s because it made 469 horsepower, only 469 horsepower, because, you know, this was the cheapest supercharged Mercedes you could buy. And of course, Mercedes didn't want people buying the stupid expensive S-Class and SL-Class to be complaining that a mundane, cheap $90,000 E-Class had the same amount of power as their car. So yeah, so this is detuned, but realistically it's not. They lied. So this is just as fast, if not faster. So yeah, so the next major issue that you should be looking out for when you're buying one of these is the engine mounts and the transmission mount. So I don't know if it's because they make so much torque and power, but these cars tend to go through engine mounts about as fast as I tend to go through Snickers bars, which is pretty, you know, quickly. So yeah, the one way to test it when you're looking at it, when you're trying to buy this car, have the owner sit in the car, put it in drive, left foot on the brake, right foot on the gas, and just give it some throttle. Basically just have them brake torque it to see if the engine will move around or flop around. I'm gonna throw in, so that doesn't look too good, isn't it? And that's my engine. So I do need to do the engine mounts. I already did the transmission mount, which takes about 15 minutes. It's not very hard. There's 4 bolts. You just jack the transmission up and take it out, put a new one in. That's it. This, on the other hand, is a lot harder to do. And on FCP Euro, they sell the 2 engine mounts and the transmission mount as a kit for about 150 bucks, I believe. Yeah, $150. Again, I'm going to keep using FCP Euro prices because they're a lot cheaper than the dealer. And And I know that if you're doing a lot of DIY stuff, you're probably trying to get a deal, just like me. I don't want to pay stupid ass prices at the dealer for mounts, but 150 bucks for all three of them for OEM mounts is pretty good. Now, that being said, the labor, if you don't do this yourself, it's probably going to run you about $700. Yes, 700 just for labor, because it takes a lot of work. So I guess the way, the book time, or the proper way to do it is to remove the exhaust manifolds, because you can't physically remove the mount from where it is. It's too stuck. So you can lift the engine and remove the bolts, but then you can't guide the mount out because of, it's just the way the engine is sitting and the way the subframe is. It's complicated. But the way some of these DIY people have figured it out is you remove the bottom subframe support thing that holds up the steering rack, and you just lower the steering rack a little bit, and that should give you some leverage for you to remove the engine mount on each side. So I will get around to that. As I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by Southwest Airlines, who I guess decided just to fly right now. But I will be getting around to that. It is a lot of work, and it's, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm complaining about it, but school and work, it's kind of not giving me much time. And I don't like starting things and just leaving them. I like to start a project and finish it right away. So when I build up enough courage and, you know, get around to it, I will be doing the engine mounts, because it is kind of bad on mine. You can hear it every time it starts. The engine will, you know, and especially on full throttle, the engine leans and goes on the firewall, and you can hear all the loud noises that are, you know, being made. So yeah, that's another major concern. And so the next part on this list that's going to directly correlate with the mounts is the exhaust manifolds. So I can't physically show you the exhaust manifolds because of the way everything is, and I'm not trying to take the air boxes off. They will crack. If your engine mounts are horrible and they're really bad, they will crack. And then that's going to lead you to some more issues that you really don't want to be facing, because at that point you have options. So, which I guess is a good thing. I don't know, depending on how you look at it. So if your exhaust manifolds crack, obviously you'll hear an exhaust leak. It'll start being, you know, loud, and you definitely should replace it because it'll cause issues with the engine. Now, my particular car has long tube headers, which make it sound mental. As if you guys haven't heard it, check out my previous videos at point of view drive of me driving the car. We rev it, we do everything with it. It sounds amazing, beautiful. Now, it makes it sound awesome, but they are also expensive. For some quality long tube headers, I think you're looking at about $1,000, maybe a little bit more depending on where you get them. Again, Performance Parts, great place to buy them is VRP, Victory Road and Performance. Not a sponsored video, but they pretty much have the whole M113K market covered with fantastic and quality parts. So yeah, check that out. Now, you can do mid-length headers, which are a little bit shorter than long tube, or even the shorty headers. I don't really know what those are for. Please let me know in the comments if you guys are experts, because I don't. I've never done research into that. I've never really been interested in buying those. I've always just preferred long tube headers. Or obviously, if you're not looking to do all the performance stuff to this car, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to. I mean, that's what it's, you know, this engine's so easy to make power. You're looking at, you know, stock headers, maybe $300-400 depending on where you buy them. You can buy them used, obviously, which, you know, it's at your own risk. You never really know online with people. I mean, sure, you can get a refund probably, but I would recommend buying newer ones or from a quality, you know, seller. So yeah, and one thing I did forget to mention in the mounts section is that a lot of people in these cars start making a lot of power, you know, north of 600 horsepower. A lot of people will swap out the stock engine mounts to Black Series mounts. Now, Black Series mounts are polyurethane mounts, which make the ride a little bit harsher because obviously they're solid mounts at that point. But because of the way they are, the engine won't flex as much, and you won't have issues with it tearing the rubber mounts, because once you start making north of 600 horsepower and a shit ton of torque, this engine will destroy rubber mounts in, you know, probably like that. So yeah, that's at your own thing. I bought stock mounts because my car doesn't make all that power, and as of right now, until I can get another car that I'm going to daily drive, I'm not trying to make a shit ton of power right now with this car. This is perfect. The car is already stupid fast enough as it is. So yeah, Now we're gonna move on to the next part of this video. Now another section of this, and this is only gonna apply to the 2003 model year cars. The radiators on those cars have issues where they tend to leak coolant through the lines into the transmission. And I don't know, you know, if you know anything, even a small amount of anything about cars, coolant and oil are not supposed to mix. It doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter if it's in the engine, the transmission, the brakes, anywhere. You don't mix coolant and oil. That just leads to disaster. So in this issue for the 2003 cars, now if you buy 04, 05, or 06, you don't have this problem. They fixed it by then. But for the 03 cars, the radiator would crack and it would tend to leak, as I said, coolant into the transmission, into the lines, into the transmission, causing catastrophic failure inside the transmission because you don't, as I said, mix those two. So one way around that is to buy the updated radiator with the updated parts, which Mercedes, most of the time the car should have already had it done at a dealership before you purchased it, I'm sure. If not, go around and change it. That is something you have to change because, as I said, you don't want to be left on the side of the road needing a new transmission. So another major issue, I guess if you want to call it that you should look out for in this car is these cars will run through crankshaft position sensors. They'll run through them like that. I don't know why. I haven't had to do it, but I've done it on my previous S-Class, on my other E-Class that I've had. They just do them. The part's about 23 bucks, 24 bucks FCP Euro. You can buy it at O'Reilly's and all that, depending on, you know, where you shop. Now, symptoms of that are the car won't start. It'll just crank, but not start. It'll basically act as if it's not getting fuel because it's not. So the engine, when the crankshaft position sensor isn't communicating with the engine, with the ECU, the car will just crank, not start. It won't give it any spark, any fuel. Basically, you know, just no crank or just crank, no start. So one way around it is to change the sensor. The sensor sits behind here, right behind the engine, where the bell housing of the transmission is, because the crankshaft sensor reads off of the flywheel. Now, it's not that hard to replace. It takes about 30 minutes if you know what you're doing. It is with a Torx bolt. I believe it's a T30 that holds it on one bolt. Pull it out, pull the connection off, new bolt, tighten it, and you're done. So yeah, that's about it. And some other things I want to mention, you know, I haven't personally dealt with this, and I don't know how true it is, but there's a guy online on the forums, and now everybody's making a big deal about it. There's a little seal on top of or inside where the oil pickup tube is on the oil pump, inside the oil pan, which when it goes bad, oil pressure won't be able to be, you know, it won't make oil pressure. The pump can't suck enough oil, thus grenading your motor. So knock on Mercedes supercharger. Hopefully that doesn't happen to me. When I do refresh the suspension, I'll probably pull the subframe off and I'll probably just do it, just comfort of mind. Another issue that a lot of people are talking about, I again have not dealt with it, is there are coolant O-rings on the inside of the timing cover that when they go bad, it'll mix coolant and oil and make it look like it has a head gasket failure. So there was a guy on the forums, I actually purchased some parts off of him for my car. He bought a E55 that the owner thought had a blown head gasket. Turned out that the timing cover O-rings had gone bad and just mixed oil and coolant. So he found that out, and I guess he kind of struck a gold mine, but he just ended up selling the car for parts, which I guess is, kind of hurt me because that means that that's another E55. It's off the road forever. Kind of got crushed and destroyed, but it is what it is. Everybody has, different ways, I guess, of going about fixing cars. I guess not everybody likes to buy salvage title 180,000 mile Mercedes aging AMGs and then fixing them, throwing a bunch of money into them when they could have just bought a little, or newer reliable car. I don't know, I guess there's something wrong with me, but it's okay. So last thing on the list I want to cover is this is a sort of mod and not really something you should be checking out for when you go and get, look at these cars. Is I did a split cooling system, and I would encourage anybody that owns one of these cars, please split the cooling system on your car. If you want to come over here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So from the factory, Mercedes integrated the supercharger cooling system and the engine cooling system into one system. Basically, it just increases coolant temps for the supercharger, causes issues. I would highly recommend you do it. that kit right there, you can see that little BMW power steering tank. That's about $100 from FCP Euro. It comes with the whole kit. It comes with the holder for the tank itself, and the hoses that you're going to need to do it. It literally is not hard to do. Again, I have a video on my channel if you want to check out how to do it. I did go in depth about which hoses to take off, what to do, blah blah blah. So highly recommend doing it. You don't want to overheat your engine, you don't want to blow it up, so go ahead and do that. And if you do end up buying one of these because of my video, please let me know. I would love to hear that. I want everybody to buy one of these. These are, as I said, this is my favorite car I've ever owned, and this was a dream car of mine that I always wanted to own. I think that obviously we're never going to see another car like this again. I mean, Mercedes is never going to produce a supercharged V8 sedan ever again, which is kind of, you know, saddening to say, but that's just the way of the future. So if you're in the market for one of these, I highly recommend going with one of these over the 211 E63 cars. I also have a video on my channel of why I think that. Now, I think this is probably one of the best cars Mercedes ever made, one of the best engines that came out of AMG in Germany, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's where we're at. So I know I probably have missed some things that you should look out for. Chime in. Those are just all the things that I have personally done research on, or that I have had to deal with. As I said, I've dealt with some of these issues on my car personally. So yeah, let me know in the comment section if you own one of these. Have you dealt with these problems? If you're in the market for one of these, what you think about it. If you're in the market one of these, please get a pre-purchase inspection before buying one of these, because don't do what I do, sight unseen, salvage car, just buy it hoping that it works, because while it turned out good with this car, not all of them turn out good. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. Let me know, as I said, in the comments what your opinion is on the car, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.